All right, you know that feeling, right? You finish like an incredible season of a show
Oh, yeah.
and you want more.
Definitely.
And so today, we're taking a trip back through this past season
Okay.
to unpack all those moments that had us, glued to our screens.
Right.
Those scenes that made you gasp or laugh or maybe even cry a little. We're going to figure out, like, what made this season so good?
Yeah.
Why do we love these characters and their stories so much?
Well, it's really amazing how the show brings together, like,
Yeah,
huge historical events and then personal stories.
it's like history coming to life, but with all that good drama that you never get in a textbook.
Exactly.
Like, take the Suez Canal crisis, for instance.
Okay.
I mean, huge political chaos for the country.
Right.
But then the show pulls back the curtain,
Yeah.
and we get to see how it affects Queen Elizabeth personally.
Yeah.
So she's dealing with this crazy international crisis,
Uh-huh.
and then at the same time trying to manage her own marriage.
Oh, wow.
Talk about pressure.
Yeah.
And speaking of marriage,
Okay.
you can't talk about this season without diving into all those
Right.
complicated royal relationships.
Yeah.
Princess Margaret, for example.
Oh, she's a firecracker.
The show really shows us her longing for love and happiness, but also how those desires clash with all the expectations of royal life.
It's that classic story of freedom versus duty.
Yeah.
And that still resonates with people today.
I mean, Margaret's storyline really resonated with viewers.
Yeah.
People were drawn to that rebellious spirit of hers,
Oh, yeah.
especially her romance with Tony Armstrong-Jones.
Right.
It's like a reminder that even with all the privilege and tradition, people still crave connection and freedom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the show isn't afraid to show those messy human moments.
Right.
Remember when the Marburg Files came out?
Oh, yeah.
Those secret documents hinting at the Duke of Windsor's Nazi sympathies?
Huge bombshell.
Yeah, it really was.
Elizabeth is forced to confront this dark part of your family history and deal with the fallout from her uncle's actions.
It's wild how personal and world history collide for them.
It really is.
And that storyline shows that constant tension between
Yeah.
personal feelings and public duty that they face.
All the time.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about Prince Philip this season,
Okay.
trying to make his own way in the monarchy,
Right.
often feeling overshadowed by his wife and his son.
It's a struggle so many people can relate to.
Absolutely.
Feeling stuck in someone's shadow.
It's interesting how they show Philip's frustrations.
Yeah.
You see him struggling with feeling inadequate, which leads him down some interesting paths.
Yeah.
He wants validation
Of course.
and purpose
Yeah.
outside of his marriage.
Right.
So he joins that exclusive Thursday club,
Yeah.
but of course this causes problems with the queen and adds to their already complicated relationship.
It's like the show is saying even royals are human.
Right.
They have their own problems.
Exactly.
And flaws.
They face love, loss, ambition. The search for meaning.
It's all there.
We see these larger-than-life people
Yeah.
facing those same relatable challenges.
What makes it so interesting?
What I find fascinating
Yeah.
is
You're
how
right.
the show puts those personal struggles against a backdrop of a changing world.
It's the 50s and 60s.
Right.
Huge social and cultural changes.
Yeah.
The rise of youth culture. The push for gender equality.
Yeah.
The decline of the British Empire.
The monarchy wasn't immune to those changes either.
Definitely not.
Remember when Lord Altrincham publicly criticized the Queen's style,
Oh, yeah.
saying it was outdated and out of touch?
I remember.
It sparked a national debate
It did.
about the monarchy's place in a modern world.
It's a perfect example of how the show uses
Yeah.
historical events to show bigger social and political shifts.
Yeah.
The monarchy had to adapt,
Right.
become more relatable
More accessible.
to the public.
Exactly.
We see that in Elizabeth's choice to televise her Christmas message.
Oh.
At first, she resisted it,
She did.
but then she came around,
Yeah.
recognizing that she needed to connect with her people.
In a new way.
Yes.
And then there's the Kennedys,
Oh, yeah.
offering a glimpse into a very different kind of power couple.
Yeah.
The show captured that global fascination with the Kennedys,
Uh-huh.
their glamour and charisma,
Right.
and then contrasted that with,
Yeah.
the more reserved British monarchy.
But the show also reveals a less glamorous side to that meeting.
Oh, really?
Remember when we find out that Jackie Kennedy had said some not so nice things about the Queen and Buckingham Palace?
Wow.
It added a layer of pettiness and insecurity to
Yeah.
this seemingly perfect visit,
Right.
reminding us that even at the highest levels
Yeah.
Things aren't always what they seem.
It's those little glimpses behind the curtain, those moments of raw emotion and vulnerability that make this show so addictive.
You're not just watching history happen. You're witnessing those personal struggles and triumphs.
The heartbreak.
Yeah, that shape these people.
It's the human element that really pulls viewers in.
It is.
We might not live in palaces
Right.
or wear crowns.
But we can relate to love duty,
Yeah.
trying to find our place in a changing world.
We'll be right back
Okay.
to continue our journey
All right.
through this amazing season.
That's good.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more TV recaps.
We've talked about all those big dramatic moments, the personal clashes and political storms that had us on the edge of our seats.
Yeah.
But there's this other layer to the show that really makes it stand out.
Okay.
The historical backdrop.
Right.
It's not just a setting.
Yeah.
It's like another character
By
that influences everything.
That's true. The show is incredible at weaving real history into the story,
Yeah.
showing how it impacts the characters' lives and their choices.
It really does.
Like the Suez Canal crisis. It wasn't just a problem for the government.
Right.
It became this huge moment for Prime Minister Eden.
Oh, yeah.
You could see those cracks forming in his leadership.
It really fueled Philip's feelings of being pushed aside.
Oh, wow.
This major global event is going on, and he's stuck watching the Queen make all the decisions.
Tough.
It's a great way to show how even these world events
Yeah.
can impact personal relationships.
And we can't forget about how the world was changing around them.
Oh, yeah.
The 50s and 60s were a time of huge shifts. Think about it. Youth culture was exploding.
Yeah.
People were pushing for social equality. The British Empire was shrinking.
And this is all happening while Elizabeth is trying to figure out how to be a modern monarch.
Right.
You see that tension between tradition and change played out so well in the show.
Absolutely.
The monarchy was being challenged to change,
Yeah.
to stay relevant in this new world.
I mean, Elizabeth was stuck in the middle,
Yeah.
trying to uphold traditions,
Right.
but also recognizing the need to modernize.
It's like the show is asking, can the monarchy even survive in a world that's moving so fast?
Yeah. And you see that reflected in the choices the characters make.
Like how?
Well, Margaret's relationship with Tony, for example.
Right.
He was a photographer.
From a different social class.
Totally.
A scandal at the time.
But it also showed how those social lines were blurring
Yeah.
in society as a whole.
And even Philip wanting a bigger role and joining that Thursday club, that exclusive group of influential men.
Right.
It speaks to those changing expectations of men.
Right.
He's trying to find his own way,
Yeah.
break free from those traditional constraints.
It's interesting because the show doesn't shy away from showing his flaws.
True.
Like those times he makes bad decisions.
But it also helps us understand why he acts that way.
Right.
It makes him more complex.
More relatable.
Exactly.
That's one of the things that makes this show so special.
What do you mean?
We don't just see good guys and bad guys.
Yeah.
You see these people with all their complexities and contradictions
Right.
trying to deal with the pressures and expectations.
It's like we're looking through a keyhole
Yeah.
into this world of privilege and power, but also seeing those very human struggles.
And it's not just viewers who are captivated.
Right.
Critics love the show.
They did.
The historical accuracy,
Yeah.
the acting, and those timeless themes that everyone connects with.
What I find fascinating is how it appeals to people of all ages.
It's true.
Whether you lived through those events or are just now learning about them,
Yeah.
there's something that draws you in.
It's a testament to good storytelling.
Exactly.
We love stories about ambition,
Loss
hunger,
for purpose.
and this show has all of that.
Yeah.
It's like stepping back in time.
I know what you mean.
The costumes, the locations, the music,
Uh-huh.
it all comes together. You feel like you're right there in those royal balls.
Yeah.
And those political dramas.
But even with all that glamour and intrigue,
Yeah.
the show never loses sight of the human drama.
Right.
We see these historical figures not as these distant icons, but as real people.
With their own desires and fears.
It reminds us that history is a story about people,
Yeah.
their choices.
And how those choices impact everyone.
And sometimes those choices lead to scandals.
Betrayal.
Even tragedy.
But even with a heartbreak and disappointment,
Yeah.
there's still hope and resilience.
We see Elizabeth growing into her role as queen.
Finding strength and resolve.
Yeah.
We see Margaret creating her own path to happiness.
Even if it means breaking the rules.
Exactly.
And we see the monarchy itself evolving
Adapting.
without losing its identity.
It reminds us that even when things are really tough,
Yeah.
the human spirit can still thrive.
It's a message for everyone.
Absolutely.
So before we move on,
Yeah.
I have to ask, what was your favorite moment from this season?
That's a good question.
Was there a scene or a line that stuck with you?
You know, for me, it was that scene where Elizabeth meets Billy Graham.
Oh, yeah, the American evangelist.
It was such a raw and vulnerable moment.
For a woman who's always in the public eye.
Yeah, she's questioning her faith,
Right.
struggling with the weight of her responsibilities, looking for guidance in a world that feels so chaotic.
It shows that even the most powerful people have those moments of doubt.
They need support too.
Exactly.
Even queens are human.
So true.
We'd love to hear from you, our listeners.
Yes.
What moments stood out to you?
What resonated?
Share your thoughts, your favorite scenes.
Your historical insights.
Let us know in the comments below.
We want to hear from you.
So we've seen scandals and changing cultures,
Right.
but there's this one thread that connects it all.
Okay.
This season keeps coming back to power, duty, and sacrifice.
You see it on both a personal and political level.
It's true. You see Elizabeth having to balance her own desires with what's expected of her.
The world is changing around her.
Yeah.
But that weight of tradition never goes away.
It makes you think about the sacrifices people have to make.
Yeah.
Whether it's a queen dealing with global issues,
Right.
or a princess giving up love for the crown.
Even Philip, with all his rebelliousness,
Yeah.
he still comes back to that sense of duty.
It does.
He chooses Elizabeth and the monarchy.
It shows that even when you fight against expectations, you can still find a way to do what's right.
To balance your own needs with the bigger picture.
It's like duty doesn't have to crush who you are.
It can actually give you strength.
Help you find a purpose.
I bet that resonates with a lot of people.
Trying to find their own way.
This season asks some really important questions.
Like what?
How do we balance what we want
Yeah.
with what others expect of us?
It's a question we all face.
Where do we draw the line between duty and self-care?
It's amazing how a show can make you think about these things.
It really is.
It makes you think about the choices we make.
And the impact they have.
This season reminds us that history isn't just about dates and events.
Yeah.
It's about people.
Their connections.
Yeah.
Their triumphs and failures.
And those stories still matter to us today.
They do.
As we wrap up our look at this season,
Okay.
I'm left with this question.
What's that?
If power can be used for good or for bad,
Yeah.
how do we make sure it's used wisely?
With compassion and responsibility.
That's something for us all to think about.
In our own lives.
Thanks for joining us for this look at the season.
It was fun.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more TV recaps.
We'll see you soon.